Welcome back to OneOps User Training, Level 1, Beginner. Today we're going to introduce OneOps as a cloud application lifecycle management tool. We'll explain what that actually means, and we'll look at it as our own platform as a service and start using it. So what does cloud application lifecycle management really mean? What does OneOps do? Well, it allows you to design your application, your cloud application, which servers it uses, what kind of components there are, load balancers, entries for fully qualified domain names, databases, application servers, and so on. You can design that. You can then manage it from there all the way to getting it deployed in your operation and running it in production, running it in your testing and staging environments. And you can do that on any cloud platform of choice with the same tool, as long as OneOps is configured to work on the different clouds. You can even do that on multiple different clouds. And once the application is running in operation, you can monitor it. You can look how it's behaving. You can manage it to scale up, scale down, repair nodes automatically, and so on. In this training, we're covering the aspects of being a OneOps user. So we're going to learn how to create and manage a cloud application with OneOps, just using it. A OneOps administrator, on the other hand, is a person that installs and manages OneOps itself, which we will not be covering in this training. We will also not be covering what a OneOps developer does. A OneOps developer would manage to modify OneOps, the user interface, the backend services, maybe the configuration used to support different components, or they would do development tasks in order to integrate and with other tools, automate things, create some reporting, and so on. Ultimately, after some more training and efforts, hopefully you will become a OneOps expert, which is a person that understands the aspects of being a user as well as an administrator, as well as a developer. Maybe one day you will become a OneOps expert. But first, let's get started with our user training for level 1 as a beginner. So let's get started by logging into OneOps, checking out the access level and how it depends on the account we have, and then how the view is actually an organization specific view. The OneOps login screen is clean and simple, and all you need to do is provide your username and password and press sign in. Once you're signed into the user interface, you see on the one hand that the context is specific to an organization in OneOps, in this case here the bootcamp organization, and you can also see that you have access to user-specific things by checking out here your username and pressing on that. And that will give you more information about your user. But first, let's have a look at some of the aspects of the user interface, such as the header, the left navigation bar, the guidance wizard, lists, and other aspects. The header that we see here in black shows navigation to the exact element, in this case only to the bootcamp organization, as well as further access to specific sections here, catalogs, clouds, assemblings, and the settings of this organization. Here on an assembly, which we'll learn more about later, you can see now there's the path to the assembly as well as the different sections, design, transition, and operation, all related to that specific assembly. The next user interface feature here is on the left. It's the navigation bar. You can change colors on it. For example, with this, you can pin it, you can close it. If you close it, all the elements move up to the top, so you have the same access to your profile, to search, to favorites, and other things as the sign out right here, or the navigation for different organizations. Let's bring the bar back and see the same here on the left. Another user interface component that can be helpful is the guidance wizard that you can see here with links to account information, design, transition, and operation stage. And this one can be removed if you don't need regularly access because the others are sufficient, but you can bring it back via profile, which we can close it away here. but you know that you can access your profile via your username, and in the settings you have the activation of the guidance wizard right here. One other user interface pattern that I want to talk a little bit more is general how lists are organized. You see here a list of assemblies in our example bootcamp organization. You see a new button on the top, a new assembly button or link on the bottom. These are available when the list contains only a certain entity. When you then go and select a specific or inspect a specific entity, you see there's different information and links related to it available right here. And once you select that, you can also perform actions on it. In this case, watch and ignore. These actions will differ depending on what's in the list. You can also perform entity-specific actions by pressing on the More Actions button right here on the right. So for example, we could mark this as a favorite pretty easily right here. You can also filter, so you can just go zoo and you see the list gets restricted to those entries that follow the pattern. And you can also sort the list of entities based on different attributes. As a next step, we're going to examine a little bit more about the user profile and things like the email configuration, API tokens and more, as well as about the fact that OneOps is a multi-tenant application and we are within the context of one organization, and there's lots of them, and we can see aspects about that specific organization such as summary, the ongoing deployments, ongoing procedures. We can inspect reports and health information about that organization, as well as perform a search within the context of that organization only. We can reach our user profile by clicking on the username in the left here in the navigation, and then we'll get presented this view that we can see here. The overall settings of the profile contains the email address, which is important because this is where all notifications will be sent, as well as our username and the guidance widget. The authentication tab mostly contains the API token that we can reset, and that is important if we work via the REST API, if we do some scripting integration or something like that. We can also see which organizations we are a member of, as well as what groups we belong to. In this case here, I belong to the OneOps team itself. And then we can also inspect our notifications in case we are watching any specific assemblies and environments. These are beyond the ones we are watching automatically because we are the creator of a specific. And last but not least, we can manage our favorites right here, which you can explore later on. You can see if I click on the organization name in the navigation, I get to see the organization's dashboard, which contains a lot of useful information about it. We can see the cost, notifications, the favorites within it, how many users, clouds, and assemblies, and so on are in this organization. We can see deployments and procedures that are ongoing at the moment in this organization, and in the reports tab we can see the general information about this organization. In this example here we can see that there's 100 cores within this organization available, and here how they are used. We can also switch over to a tabular display here. Furthermore, we can see the health of the organization. In this case everything is running fine and it's all green, but you can select which ones you want to see, and depending on your complexity of the overall organization, you can get very useful information here. Last but not least, the search allows you to perform a search within that organization only. So we've seen how OneOps is a multi-tenant application. You can switch to other organizations and you can belong to multiple organizations and each time access the respective information like we've just explored. As an administrative user, you can go beyond that and configure things such as catalogs and packs, clouds, and actually create organizations and those kind of tasks, which are, however, beyond the scope of our beginner user training here. So we're not going to explore that any further. Now that we have a pretty good overview of the OneOps user interface and what OneOps as an application is for, next we'll dive into creating a cloud application in what's called design.